Welcome to InfoSec World 2025. I'm your host, Mandy Logan, and it's time to close out our coverage from day one here at the expo floor at Disney's Coronado Springs Resort. As a delight and privilege and surprise in a way, I am joined by John DelMauro, the Executive Vice President of National Events for CRA.
Correct, yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I am thrilled that you are joining because I felt like moving from the actual content part of ISW will go to, well, what is the infrastructure planning and the overall setup of ISW? And I would love for you to tell me a little bit more of your background and then what you see as a particular highlight with what ISW brings to the community.
Sure. So I've been producing events for over 25 years in different size and scale. Started my career in a financial services media business and ran over 60 live events in financial services for banking, insurance, investment management, benefit management, healthcare, and produced events in all kinds of size and scale, from 200-person conferences and hotels to large multi-thousand person events in convention centers. So, and probably one of the biggest rewards I get is that you get to continue to build, and execute these events with the team and take a lot of pride in what we do and execute. And bringing together buyers and sellers and communities to these events has been incredibly rewarding over my career.
I'm so glad to hear that. I find it fascinating because I feel like even though day to day I'm more on the cybersecurity side, there's all of those variables that have to be accounted for. And you're talking very intensely about the human variable. Mm-hmm. So with part of that, when you're looking at forecasting what content will be brought to a particular conference at a particular time, walk me through some of that process.
Yeah, a funny piece of that is when I worked with a number of editors and they said, I don't know how you do this, as we have to write like for now and what the trends are going to be, and you have to go build content in a conference in a theme, 6 months to a year in advance. So you've got to be pretty progressive in thinking and looking over the horizon of what's going to be important in a year to 6 months. When you're recruiting speakers, you're building a theme and trying to tie all that together when it comes through the execution of the event down the road. So that's always been making sure that we are advancing what we're trying to achieve to make sure that the value is to the attendees, the speakers, and then the exhibitors and sponsors of the event.
That's great. Now with ISW being, this is its 31st year.
31st year.
Right. How many years have you been involved with it?
This is if you count the events that were scheduled and canceled because of a number of natural things, but this is my 5th year running the event.
5th year. So what have you noticed change? Now, my very limited understanding is that attendance has grown even through COVID shutdowns.
Yeah, so, when I took this over, we had to move it due to COVID for years had been a March program, moved it to September, then had to continue to kind of move it forward. The following year, the Delta variant, I think it was called at the time, so we had to then again take it from in-person to online. And then this is the 3rd year that we've been back here in person with a full-scale, fully executed program and event.
And is this the first year of the AI, CISO, and Women in Cyber Summits?
Yes, yeah. So one of the things that I've done in my career and that we've tried to do here is continue to evolve the experience, evolve the content, elevate what we're doing. We've done the CISO. We ran the Women in Cyber as a breakfast last year,
right,
and had over 150 participants. And this year we've expanded that to be like a full half-day program. So, we test things, get feedback, and then try to really make that part of the program and the experience for the event. And so that's what we did this year. The AI Summit was new this year. I don't think you can go into a session or have a conversation about any industry, but you heard today in the keynote about the disruption and what AI is going to bring to cybersecurity and to the professionals that support this industry. So obviously it's going to be just part of the program moving forward in all elements.
And I'll give a tiny bit of feedback because getting to host and be involved in the AI Summit all day yesterday, I had feedback from several participants that this was their first ISW and they came specifically because of the AI Summit.
Right.
And I feel like when you hear feedback like that and you understand that your forecasting is working well and it's what the people need and what they are facing day to day, is there a sense of pride or accomplishment, or how does that go for you and your team when you see that success?
No, absolutely. I mean, that's, this business is always challenged with competitors, right? Especially within this market, there's thousands of cybersecurity events. So if you don't differentiate yourself, if you don't bring value to, like I said, the speakers, the attendees, and certainly the sponsors and exhibitors, somebody else will do it, right? And so you have to make sure that you're continually being different, driving value, and making sure the investment of people's time and money are really seen through, the course of 3 or 4 days that they're going to spend here.
Oh, I am so glad to hear this, and I'm very, very proud of seeing the success that these new additions are having. I mean, I've seen it and heard it on the show floor. I've heard it from attendees that I have been around. So thank you for giving us a little bit more of insight
Of course,
here.
yeah.
And is there anything you can suggest to our audience about if they want to get involved with content such as speaking or doing presentations or trainings? What is the pipeline for that?
Yeah, sure. So we, the minute this ends, we start planning for next year. We've actually started planning for next year already. So we'll have a call for papers that'll be launched in probably January.
Okay.
So they can submit their proposal, their speakers. We go through a formal vetting process with the advisory board of topics and themes. Try and get through the ones that might be a little bit more salesy versus more enterprise, more business, and try and bring those through the committee and get them, to come up on stage during the conference. And so in addition to that, we also do our own research and look at best-in-class content speakers. Certainly the main stage is more curated than probably the breakouts. The breakouts are probably a little bit more drilled down, a little bit deeper than what you'd get on the main stage. But we have over, 200 speakers here. The accreditation is a big part of what we do in delivering credits to the audience. So making sure that, as I've said, like, value to the paying participants is incredibly important and special to us.
Nice. And I'll say one more thing. I really valued with the AI Summit when I met with Chris Tanaka previously about that, and I said, she'd asked my input, and I said, well, I would personally go for 70% technical and 30% not.
Right.
So interestingly, after I had the prep information, I ran it through one of my very trusted, and it was, clean data, but I ran it through one of my bots and asked for its breakdown, and it came up as 67% technical and the otherwise. I was like, wow, this is really cool.
Yeah. And that's all, you have to strike the balance because you want to make this applicable and marketable to many different folks.
Right.
And so one of our challenges is how do you balance, what's too technical, what's not too technical, and making sure somebody that comes here and doesn't walk away and say, well, that was too
Just
technical
fluff,
and over my
right.
head, or it's too, strategy that I need more of the kind of meat and potatoes.
Well, John, thank you so much for joining us.
No, it's my pleasure. This is great.
This is fantastic. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
And thank you for tuning into CyberRisk TV's InfoSec World live coverage today. We will be back for day 2 with more interviews right here on the Expo show floor. In the meantime, you can head over to securityweekly.com/ISW to find all of our coverage of InfoSec World 2025. I'm Mandy Logan, and I will see you tomorrow morning.